Good evening, this is Clemay Bullock, and I am here with Stephanie Reyna, who is running for office here in East Chicago. She has agreed to sit down with TA Enterprises in conjunction with Hoosier to answer some of your questions. Good evening, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. What position are you running for and why?
I am running for council at large. In EC, there are 3 spots for council at large. 12 people are currently running. There are 6 districts, so 1 per district. Council at large is a little different because we cover the entire city. We're kind of out there just to be a helping hand to the other districts. Why am I running? I'm running because I am very passionate about EC politics. East Chicago has given me so much, and I just want to come back and give back to my community. So when I was younger, I helped with a campaign for the 1st district. That's where I currently live. And that just sparked an interest in me. So after that, I worked at a polling place, and the politics here just are super interesting. So like I said, it sparked an interest. And from then on, I decided when I went to school, I received my degree, I came back, that EC running for council was going to be something that I was going to do.
What are some of the specific duties of a council person at large?
Well, council at large, every council member has pretty much the same. There's no one that can say, like, this is what I want to do and that's what's going to happen. Everybody has to agree. So I just try to tell people when I'm knocking on a door, we only have a little bit of time to get their attention. So that's usually one of their questions. So I like to say that we represent the city, we represent the citizens, we listen to them and their voices, and then we are their voice in return. So whatever the mayor says, or there's a different ordinance, then we pretty much as a council would say yay or nay.
Okay, so what in your professional career do you feel has made you most qualified for councilwoman at large?
Well, a little bit of background about myself. I am a teacher, a licensed teacher. I've been teaching for the school city of EC for 10 years now. And I believe that my organizational skills will help me. Just having a real good, genuine connection with my community. I believe that my students, sometimes they're more than students. And being a teacher, I can't pick one, I guess I would say, because I am there teaching, but I'm also a mentor. I am sometimes a nurse. I am sometimes a therapist or a counselor. Sometimes I'm a cook because we have to feed them. I tell them all the time that I am not Walmart, but I will provide them with pencils and pens or paper, because I feel that they should not do their homework just because they don't have the supplies. So what does my career help me with? I think it just helps me being a very well-rounded person and just having the ability to adapt. I think that I'm a team player, being a union teacher, and those can help me if elected on the council.
So you're running as a Democrat. What went into your decision to do so?
Well, I come from a family of Democrats. I am a proud Democrat. Being from East Chicago, most of the city is Democrats. There are a few Republicans out there. But I feel like the values I share more with the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. Of course, we don't always share all of the same values, but I believe that Democrats usually are hardworking people. EC is an industrial city, and I just feel a closer tie with the Democratic Party.
So we've seen this national narrative of old versus young Democrat, Nancy Pelosi versus Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Do you think that is showing up locally?
Yes and no. AOC is awesome. She's out there. She worked really hard for her campaign. If you haven't read about her, you might want to look her up. She's only, like you said, she's only 29 years old. She's doing big things on the national level. And I think that in my race for at large, there are 12. and there are quite a few young ones. So I think that the young ones in the at-large race have maybe some different ideas and different connections with the community members as to the older ones that are running. So yes, they are very seasoned, but maybe they don't have the connection that some of us younger ones, especially with social media. Social media is so powerful these days, and so maybe people don't read the literature that's left at their door or in their mailbox, but they see somebody online. So I think that has also influenced the different people and age range that's running.
Given that you are voted into the councilwoman at large position, what would you plan to do as soon as 3 months into that position?
Well, the first 3 months, I would like to learn as much as I could from the incumbents. I'm sure there are going to be some incumbents on the council. And I think that just being a team player and working with the other council members to get ideas or how things run would be a good thing. After the first 3 months, I think the entire way I would, of course, voice my opinion and really vote with what the community needs and what they want. It's said that when you make decisions, you have to be able to sleep at night. So that's something that's important. And if the citizens vote me in, then I want to make sure that I am representing them the way I should.
Community involvement is imperative to anyone's success that's in office. How do you plan to incorporate the community in decision-making processes, given that you're voted into councilwoman at large?
I believe that we have some good organizations here. We have some grassroots organizations. We have organizations that teenagers have come up with and just went with it. When I was in high school, I was involved in the Gilbert Diaz Foundation, and we did different fundraisers, and he did a big turkey drive. So I think just getting people out there and inspired and to have pride in what they're doing. There have been, I know, like the Lions Club does the beach cleanup, and those are just different organizations that if we get involved with and we show the youth that it's important, then I think that they will follow in our footsteps.
So there has been speculation that there are candidates running on a split vote. Could you define what a split vote is, and have you seen that happening within this race?
First of all, a split vote is when somebody is either asked to run in a race. So, for example, maybe a male and a female are running in the same race, and they put another female in there to split the vote up so that the male can get more votes, or similar last names that someone can maybe get confused. A lot of campaigns in the past like to cause voter confusion. So if you have a Garcia and a Garcia, then they might not know which one to vote for. So they just maybe go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I hope I have the right one. So that's kind of what the base of, or the idea of split vote is. This time around, I don't think that anybody is running to cause a split in the vote. I think that each candidate that's running this time around is really in it for the right reasons, that they are there because they want to run and they want to win and they want to represent our city.
East Chicago has a reputation for corrupt politics. We've seen this with examples like the Sidewalk Six and our former mayor, George Pabay, who was convicted. With such a stigma, why have you decided to run in East Chicago?
Well, I think it's not only a stigma in EC, but it's also a stigma with Lake County politics in general. In the past, there has been a lot at past campaigns, they would get very down and dirty. And I think that we are moving it forward in a way where we're trying to make a change. So we're trying to get rid of that stigma. And I think that the younger people who are running because they're passionate. I know I'm running because I care about my community. I care about my neighbors. I care about my family members. So I think that we are trying to move forward and push past that. If a lot of people just do a little search on EC politics, there are tons of articles that will come up that you might not have ever thought could happen in a small city like EC. But we are a very political city. A lot of universities do political science classes just based on Lake County statistics. So I think that in the past we do have that, but we're moving forward. So I think that that's the reason why I am running. Just because that's how it used to be does not mean that's how it's going to still be.
Nationally and locally at the state level, we've seen an age demographic turnover in politics, with our Indiana state representative, Mr. Chung, who was the age of 25, being voted in, as well as Alessandro Ocasio-Cortez, who was 29, being voted in. What do you think is the reason for this?
I think that there's a new wave, and hopefully that it's not just hip, but that it becomes the norm. That a lot of people have in the past been kind of thrown off because maybe they were told that they weren't old enough or they weren't seasoned enough. And I think that now, being young, we feel like we have some power, so that we're not going to wait until we're in our 40s or 50s, and we are just going to go out there, run a campaign, and work hard to try and get the population out there to vote for us.
87% of our population is industry, while the other 13% is residential. What would you change about our industrial zoning?
I think me as an individual, it would be hard to change. I would have to get others on the council on board. But I think that zoning is interesting because a lot of my students, they talk about, why don't we have big box stores? Why don't we have chain restaurants? And I try to explain to them that there's not space for it, and that's because of zoning. Why are there not homes in these big empty lots? Because of zoning. So we want to make sure that our community is safe, that we're not exposing ourselves to anything toxic. So that has to do with zoning. A lot of places, they always say there's no space. There's no space for the buildings. There's no space for the parking. So zoning has a lot to do with that. And I think that as a council, they might have to think outside of the box for that.
With companies such as BP, ArcelorMittal, and U.S. Steel making record-breaking profits, and majority of our population working service jobs, do you feel that there's a correlation there?
I think in the past there was. I know that my family is in EC because of my family members before us. We actually got here because my great-grandfathers first migrated here along with some of my great-uncles. After that, they brought the rest of the family here. So back in the day, generations ago, they were working here and living here. And now they are not. A lot of the people have traveled a little south, but they still work here. So I think that there's not a correlation because the population has changed. So when they don't live in the city, then they're not investing in the city. And so it may appear that there's profits, but we're not seeing that directly.
Okay. Gun violence is a hot topic within our community. We don't currently have a trauma center. Do you feel that we should?
I believe that if there were the means, that we should have it. Being a teacher, I have been in contact with numerous students over the years. Being a teacher, I never imagined having my first student gone because of gun violence. I know that living here and teaching here, I just have a different perspective than others that are teaching in our community. But having those experiences, having my students shot and shot again, that just knowing that there's not a trauma center, but that a neighboring community would have to take our community members there if anything were to happen, it's sad to think that we can lose some without that being here in our community.
So where can the voters find you at?
For Facebook, they can find me at Vote Reyna at Large 2019. They can also find me at www.votereyna2019.com. And they can also email me at votereyna2019@gmail.com. I also have a campaign line. They can reach me by text or phone at 219-407-1986. We have a lot of people who contact us that they want yard signs. So I just tell them, shoot me a text at 219-407-1986.
Well, okay. Thank you so much for stopping in and agreeing to speak with us.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.